Hi everyone, Yvonne Britton here. We're back for more interviews and we're joined today by Cacey Scott. So if you've been on Instagram and you're interested in medical medium, chances are that you've seen Cacey. Welcome Cacey, thank you for joining us.
Hi, yes, thank you for having me. Super excited.
You're welcome, and I've mentioned to you, I absolutely love what you're doing on Instagram. I love the inspiration that you're providing and the level of detail as well. And I am really curious, to find out some more about you. So we know that you're healing using medical medium protocols, but would you mind letting us know a little bit about yourself, what you've been suffering from, what your symptoms were in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it all started out really in the spring of 2017, like April, May, June, from getting off of a prescription medicine for anxiety that I had when I was younger, when I was in like my late teens and early 20s. I was on it for about 10 years, and I really just kind of my brother-in-law and my sister had really started a nutrition journey and sort of a holistic journey, and was very interested in it. And so I slowly began to pick up on starting to do smoothies, eat more greens and meditation and essential oils, and I decided to try to get off of my anxiety medicine. So I had weaned off, and it took me about 3 months. I weaned off of it, and when I got off of it, I also had stopped at the same time. I stopped alcohol, caffeine,
Well,
dairy, processed foods, and the medicine. So it was sort of like all at once, and it was just I basically put my body into shock. At the time, I didn't know what was happening, but now I do know exactly what happened. My liver had just literally taken such a heavy hit, and I basically had lost. I became extremely depressed. I didn't know what was happening, and my mind started to just kind of go crazy. I had these racing thoughts, and it was so much fear. And this was around June 2017. There was so much fear. Um, still had my strength. I was always a little bit fatigued, but I still had my strength. And so I was working, going about my days. I was crying all the time. I didn't know what was happening. I had thoughts racing like crazy. And I was just so much fear and so much adrenaline. And I was working out so much to try to compensate for everything because that's what I've always done. And so in July, I had to stop working, and I started to get a lot worse. I would be working out, and then I would be really, really exhausted after. And this kept happening for all of July of 2017. And right sort of the end of July, September, I sort of lost my legs, like my strength in my legs just left me. And I was reaching out for doctors, tons of doctors, and I was just getting worse and worse. And one morning, I had I was getting ready to go to the doctors, and I had my heart shot up to like 180 beats per minute, and I thought that my mind felt like I was gonna pass out. Like I thought that was it. I thought that was gonna die. And I used to be a hypochondriac. Like so, I made everything so much worse. This is how my anxiety started when I was little. Is I used to be a hypochondriac, and this carried over as soon as I stopped that anxiety medicine. It came all right back, like what was happening to my body, and I had just lost all control. I went to the emergency room, and basically from that point on, the fear was so intense, especially like my mind, like my serotonin, my dopamine was shot. I had this virus inside of me that I had no idea, the neurotoxins, and I just was so afraid. And for the next 2 months, I thought I was dying literally every minute I thought could be my last. I slept for 6 months. I got 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night, and I was literally eating so much meat. I wasn't eating anything else besides meat, basically beans, uh, veggies, and some like brown rice, like very clean paleo, but so much meat, because that's just what I thought I needed at the time. And I was hung up on this idea of adrenal fatigue, and that's literally all I thought it was. And I thought that I had Addison's disease, and I got carried away with so many different ideas and thoughts, and I just thought I was dying. And it was the worst thing that I could ever go through, ever will go through. And you just, the life gets sucked out of you, and that's what happened to me. So my journey to medical medium was, I actually, over that summer, when I was still, my mind was sort of crazy, but I was looking for answers. My friend had given me the Life Changing Foods book, and I started to go through it a little bit. Didn't really dive too much into the book as much as I started listening to the podcast, like Epstein's Bar podcast, Adrenal Fatigue podcast. So I started to do some of the protocols, and I just felt myself getting worse. Nothing was helping. I wanted that quick fix. I thought that it was supposed to just help me right away, and that's not how it works. But so I basically stopped all that and just kept doing what I was doing for the next 6 months, until December came around, and I started this detox protocol, for Dr. Lamb. He's this adrenal fatigue guy. So I had started to do some of that, and that's how I sort of started my healing process. But I couldn't even take one supplement. One supplement made me literally start to have such gnarly detox reactions. And a lot of my symptoms were just such gnarly fatigue. Like I felt so drained. I couldn't even get out of bed. Just so heavy. My legs felt so, I feel like I couldn't almost even feel my legs. Like if I just put my legs up on a bench or something, that was way too much, because I needed them to be fully supported. I felt like I could collapse really at any moment, really. And just tremors all throughout my legs and my arms. The tingling, such intense tingling. Really, really gnarly chest pain, chest tightness, loose stool, constipation. It would go back and forth. And really the main part of it was the fatigue. And then the mental was just, my head would be tingling, hot and cold 1 minute, but the thoughts just nonstop. It was like I'd have my head in a beehive, and literally the bees would just be, those were the thoughts just swarming my mind. And I was just, so they would be, it felt like the thoughts were stinging me. Like I had thoughts of visions of people dying on the street. Like I could see people walking and they'd be dying, the worst irrational thoughts. And so that made everything 10 times worse. Everything felt darkness, anxiety in my body just was so intense. But I had read a lot of books, a lot of self-help books before this, and I realized that I was just making myself so much worse. And through all these books and teachings, I learned that the fear and the worry was causing everything so much worse, and that if I wanted to live, that I would sort of have to let go and just give it to, really just give my trust and faith to God, and to whatever it is that was happening to me. I would just literally have to be quiet, be silent. And that's what I started to do. And as soon as I started to let things just happen without me reacting to them, that's when everything started to change for me. And that's when I got reintroduced to medical medium, when I went to my doctor, because I got diagnosed with Lyme disease. And then I went to my doctor, and he diagnosed me with Epstein-Barr virus. And I remembered Epstein-Barr from the summer, and I knew I was starting to be guided, because I had asked for guidance every day from the past couple of months. And now I was being guided, and I got guided right to medical medium, and all resonated beautifully with me. Everything that I'd been through and everything I know at that time, I was able to to open up that life-changing foods book, and that's exactly what it did. It started to change my life, and I started to read all the books. Actually, I won the competition. I didn't even know there was a competition, and I just posted something with his name in it, and he reposted it and said I won the books, and I was like, "Well, this is awesome!" Like I had no idea that there was even a competition, so it felt like it was just meant to be.
I love
And
that.
yeah, I found out later there was a competition, but I got the book sent to me, so I just started to read them and go through them. I picked out the supplements that were similar to my symptoms, and it was history from there. And then I just been doing his routines and his information ever since.
That's amazing. I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing. It's really amazing how you got to that point where you did just surrender, that you just like let things happen. Because I think for me personally, that's kind of like the most difficult thing to do, because we want to hang on to that control. So good for you. And it's funny how that you do that and then things fall into place and start to happen. And I can't believe you won those books without knowing there was a competition. It's amazing.
It was super cool.
So have you ever seen a medical medium type practitioner, or have you just really taken the information from the books and done it yourself?
Yeah, no, I never talked to a practitioner, a medical medium practitioner, or anything. I just literally went through the books and did it all myself. And he literally does put everything that we need inside these books. And also through the healing path on his website, it gives you everything that you need to heal. And I just dove really deep into the life-changing foods books, the way that he describes the foods on what they do and how they heal you, that coming from someone who's sick, that is really exciting stuff. So that book gets you really excited to heal. And I had just learned so many tools throughout my journey that resonated with me, that I kept, that really helped me along with all the books. So I was able to incorporate those with the books, and so I got all the supplements I needed. I did reach out to Organic Faith. That's her Instagram name, but I talked to her for like an hour and a half. I reached out to her if she could help me basically with the routine on getting started with it. Like, what are the main supplements and like the sort of the routine that I want and need. And she did. It was absolutely amazing. I love her. She helped me out, sort of get my routine started with like the B12, the zinc, the heavy metal detox, the celery juice. So that was really how I got started. But it was definitely the books and the angels and all of his that really got me started.
I love the life-changing books, that emotional and spiritual part. When it talks about I'm like, whenever something happens, I'm like, go to the index, and I really use it. It's really amazing. It actually is really exciting,
It is those, and I really use those parts in my life. And I at the same time I was healing, I'm trying to grow myself, like trying to use my mind and the spiritual aspect of everything. So I would really use those emotional support and relate that to my food as I eat them, and tell myself what was happening, and bring that out into my life so I could experience that and believe that.
It really makes you look at the food in a different way. When you look at an orange and you're like, oh, this is the energy from the sun, this is going to make you feel happy. It's that I consult that book, maybe not on a daily basis, but like certainly every other day. And I can get lost in it, just like going from one thing to the next.
Easily.
It's really amazing. Yeah.
Easily go for hours on that book.
So what is your, how would you describe your lifestyle now? How have you incorporated in medical medium protocols to your life? Because sometimes I know in the past, it felt for a while my whole life was revolving around making sure I got my celery juice and my heavy metal smoothie. How do you find it? How do you deal with it?
Well, for me, it's sort of a little bit different than somebody who is seemingly healthy and can go to work and stuff and trying to incorporate everything, the medical medium information and doing all the foods and stuff. It's sort of a little bit difficult to get started because they feel that it's a completely different lifestyle than what you're raised on. And for those people, it's all about, just doing one step at a time and going slow with it. And slowly that turns into being able to change your lifestyle. But for me, it just resonated with me. So long ago, and back when I started to get off that medicine, I wanted to change myself. I wanted to be better. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted, I always worked out, but I wanted, sort of more. But I was always a drinker and everything, a partier. I worked a very physical job. So when I got sick, I created this life just around being home. I couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
So when I started to adopt the medical medium information and a plant-based diet, like that was just, the rest is history. Like that, turned that into a blessing, my sickness into a blessing, by becoming grateful for everything that I already had. So it was easy for me to shed my old lifestyle and the foods that I was eating because I knew what they were doing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of pain behind that and a lot of emotion trying to shed that. But initially it started out with fear because I knew that these foods were not good for me, so I was not going to eat them. And I was trying to heal my mind off of eating healthier, getting rid of processed food, dairy. But that I realized that there was so much emotion behind those foods that I was using those foods to sort of make me feel good all the time. And I would literally sit there and just cry. My family would be eating these chips and salsa and Mexican food that I loved. And I could laugh at all of this. Like this, I would literally cry after for like hours. But it's not like that I was purposely trying to cry. It was so painful, but I was willing to do whatever it took. And so I started to shed all those emotions behind food. And this went on for about 6 months. And when everything built up, all the little signs and everything built up to me adopting the plant-based diet and medical medium. Like it was like clear as day. This is the way. This is the light. So now my lifestyle, I created this lifestyle around healing, around doing whatever it takes, and that means not going out to a movie or not going out to with my friends because I need to stay home and rest, or I need to use my energy to make the smoothie, make the foods. Like I want to do everything on my own to prove to myself how strong I was. So I created this lifestyle around healing, making all the foods and everything, knowing that when I'm healthy, everything would be so easy. Like I had let go of jobs, friends, relationships, because I can get all those things back when you're healthy. But when you're unhealthy, you don't have really sort of any. For me, there was no choice but to do whatever it took. So now that I've created this lifestyle, I already know it. Like I know it exactly. It's so easy for me to wake up in the morning, drink my lemon water first thing, and then make my celery juice. And now I start to go out and do more things. I have everything prepared. Like I pack all my stuff. I prepare and I pack adrenal snacks. And I bring a little ice chest with me. And, I don't really care what anyone thinks. I actually feel like it's an opportunity for me to help change other people's lives by them seeing what, like my lifestyle and asking me questions.
Yeah.
So thank God I had my parents' support and a place to live, to do this. But for a long time, I didn't get disability money from my job. I still haven't been paid that money. So they helped me out for a little while, but I started to get food stamps. I'm not spending any money anywhere else, some general relief. And I was able to just buy the bare minimum, the food, and literally just the bare minimum supplements, and just trusted that that's what I needed to heal.
Yeah, and it's amazing that you're doing it for yourself, but you're also doing it now for thousands of other people who are following you on social media. So congratulations
Thank you
for
so
doing it for
much.
you and for everyone else. I did want to ask you about the supplements. What's been your experience? Have you did you start off slow? Have you ever overdone it? What's your experience there?
Yeah, wow. I I have a lot of experience with supplements. That's basically where I started. Before I started plant-based diet, I had started with supplements back in December of 2017 is when I started taking. I would take like a melatonin for sleep, or I started taking whatever they prescribed or suggested for me. I started taking from this detox company, or this Dr. Lamb, and there was just some vitamins and some minerals in them, but I started their protocols, which was like one or two supplements in the morning, and those slowly started to add up. Like after 1 or 2 days, I started to notice really darkness in my mind, really dark emotions, like depression, anxiety, and then really gnarly shaking and tremors in my body. So I was having a lot of detox reactions, and my liver was just completely sluggish and couldn't handle all of that. And I didn't know that at the time. So, but they actually did. So doing this detox program, they taught me how to go slow. Literally, I went back, stopped all the supplements, and I would take the powder from the supplements, put it in water, and then put a toothpick into that water and put it under my tongue for 1 second, and that's how slow I would go. And
Wow.
I'd build up the next day to sort of 3 seconds, and then the next day to 5, and so on and so forth. And that's really it taught me so much. Um, and I also kept a really close journal about what was happening in my body and what I was experiencing every day, like my mood, my activities, my energy, my sleep, my poops, my symptoms, and my supplements and food I was taking every day. And this created my mind was now paying attention to my body, and I'd let go of the fear of what was happening, and I was able to really just pay attention to what was happening in my body and my mind from these supplements, from the foods, from walks, from everything. And that's how I was able to really understand what was happening. And when I got to a point where I didn't need that program anymore, and this is the time where I was starting a plant-based diet and the medical mediums information. And I had started off with, I realized I could do this all on my own, and if I went at that pace that they were going at, it would take me years to heal, because we have to go through a lot of discomfort in healing. So I started off with the B12, the Global Healing Center B12, and I started off with like a quarter dropper of that, and then just a few drops of the zinc, and slowly build up. I would have some reactions with that, but also the same with other supplements that I had got vitamin D because my doctor recommended it, but it's not really as important as some of the other ones. Um, what other selenium, sovereign silver, cordyceps. Um, I'm trying to think of some of the other
Were
ones.
you taking the ester C, the vitamin C?
I was not. I did take vitamin C, but not the SRC. It was too much money for me at the time. So I was doing the licorice root tea every morning. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have any tinctures, but I do the licorice root tea every morning because I read in there. It resonated with me that it's for really, really amazing for the adrenals, and it really
Mm-hmm.
gets you out of a stagnant state. And that's exactly what I was in. So I just paid attention to that, and that's exactly what got me out of it. But I'm drawing a blank right now on some of the other supplements I took. I had selenium as well.
Lysine, did you have lysine or?
I started the L-lysine and coenzyme Q10.
Yeah.
Because I was really actually deficient in that when they ran that test. And that's really sort of all the supplements that I was taking.
And like, do you still take them now, or which ones are you
Yeah,
taking
so
now?
the supplements I take now are the B12 and the zinc, and I do 2 full droppers of those. And then I only take a few. I take L-lysine and coenzyme Q10 and vitamin D. And I do on and off with the tinctures. I have lemon balm I actually do every day because I have weak legs, and that's a symptom that for the nervous system, for neurotoxin on the nervous system. So that I looked in Life Changing Foods book, and that's what it was. So that's what I'm doing every day. But I have burdock root tincture and nettle leaf tincture, and then I do some teas as well. I do chaga powder in my smoothies, as well as rosehip tea and red clover.
Yeah, they're all great. They really are. If we can jump off of the topic of diet and supplements for a second, because having heard this story, I'm even more happy to have seen you jumping up and down on your rebounder on your Instagram stories. It really fills my heart to see that you've got that kind of energy, and you could feel your energy. But another thing I noticed you doing that I really liked was you were saying affirmations to yourself while you were moving, which I love the combination, of the movement and the affirmations and the visualization. So is that something you had picked up previously and you've incorporated, like you were mentioning before, or is it something new for you?
Yeah, this is actually like this. I'm so passionate about affirmations, and this is like where because I lost my mind and I literally saw it literally transform, and I learned the mind so much that this is turned into my passion, and the affirmations are just literally, they're so important that we don't even realize. But this is something that I actually started off with before I got sick.
Okay.
And I had started basically, I would go on walks and I would just talk to myself. And affirmations, people think that it has to be like a specific affirmation. It doesn't have to be. You just have to talk positive to yourself. And I would go on walks and I would sit there, or I wouldn't sit there. I would be walking and I would just tell myself, I'd be crying because I wouldn't feel that way, but I would tell myself, you are so strong, Cacey. You have everything that you need inside of you. Nobody has to know what you're going through. This is your journey alone. Like, God knows what's going to happen for you. You don't know what's going to happen, but you're so strong. You can get through this. You can do anything you want. You have the power, you know. And I would continue this and just walk and cry and cry. And this, I would go on for a few weeks and do this, but my mind was still, because of what was happening in my body, I wasn't seeing a whole lot of results. But and then I got really sick. And then when I started to come out of it, around that December, January time, right before medical medium, I had started to do this again and go for walks but really also journaling as well. Um, I would go back and basically talk about my fears and write down all my fears. And then it wasn't so much the fact that going back and dealing with traumas or anything, but telling myself what had happened and facing that fear. But it was the affirmations after that, after the really a short part of the journaling, is that telling myself what I'm made of, what I'm strong of. And then also was the gratitude, was telling myself what I have. Like, I have all this still. Like, I can walk. Like, I could literally walk. I can use my hands. I could see. I could hear. I could smell. I have a house to live in. I have a bed to sleep in. And literally, it just, you're overriding your subconscious, your mental training that you have for your whole entire life. That nobody knows really how to deal with. But when you start bringing in affirmations and gratitude every day, you're telling your subconscious now what you want. You know, you're rewriting that subconscious. So those your subconscious is picking up on that, and now that's going to start portraying in your attitude and in your life.
Yeah.
Because you're grateful for everything. You know how strong you are because of how many times you've told yourself. You know, I would tell myself I'm at peace, I am love, and I would literally in the shower I would tell myself how much I love myself. You know, I love my body, and you know, it's painful when you don't feel that way and you don't feel it, and that's where the emotion is stuck in the body, and you literally cry and cry until your body has processed the emotion part of it. Then you start to literally sort of feel it a little bit. Now it feels like I really love myself, and at the same time I was doing all these affirmations, I was also doing all of what medical medium has suggested. Before I even knew that he suggested it, I would be looking at the stars at night. I would be walking, just looking at the sunset, like just wanting more, you know, just looking and just telling myself like I'm gonna get better, you know. And I would just tell myself this over and over again. And it's really important for people to know that it's not like I didn't feel good at all. Like this didn't feel good. I felt terrible, but I would just tell myself it anyways. And it just pays like it. You're literally speaking existence what you want to happen, and that's all I did. And now that I did it, and I'm seeing how amazing it makes me feel and everything, I try to just be that way for everyone else, and tell them what they can do, and the fear that literally what they're feeling is just fear.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I love how you combine those things with medical medium, because I do the same actually. I have a real passion for anything medical medium, and I'll be eternally grateful for the information that Anthony's given us. But I do have the affirmations and the meditations and the visualizations going in the background as well. So thanks for sharing that with us. Before we end, I know you've mentioned a few moments, but is there any kind of like specific second in time where you were like, I'm on my way out of this, or like this is my turning point, or even looking back? You've mentioned a few, but would there be like one in particular?
Um, yeah, I would say there was this one really this one moment when I knew that things were really getting better, and I had this meditation, and I have this chair where I sit in the sun, but I have this meditation where I was literally able to get so just into my body, and everything just felt so clear, and I was able to remember everything, and I felt like I was really floating, and I felt so good, and I was able to speak clearly. And from that moment on I knew that I was healing, but it didn't last for very long. But I had paid so close attention to my journey and what was happening. I really created a sense of awareness, um, and shedding the fear and paying attention to all the little signs, because it's very easy to get lost in this when you're not paying attention because of how you feel physically and mentally. That it takes a lot of paying attention. So, but as of it wasn't really until recently, this past, I hit about the 8-month marker on the medical medium when I really started to feel a big difference. I started to get more energy back. Um, my I pay attention to the thoughts in my mind. They used to be really, really loud, and now they're like really, really quiet, and they're almost gone. All these things are huge signs of that I'm moving forward, and how long I could jump, how far I could walk. But it's right now really about the 8th or 9th month, on medical medium, that I'm really experiencing some huge, 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 just benefits of the plant-based diet and medical medium information and the supplements. and it feels like I'm getting my life back. And
Well, I can, if you look at your Instagram story and stuff, you can feel the energy. So I'm really delighted for you. Like, really well done. On your determination, on everything. You've really given it your all, and it's paying off for you. So I'm really happy for you. If you had to give one last message to people who are maybe now where you were before, what would that be? What would your words of wisdom, or like to give someone some hope or faith, what would you say to people?
I would say to people that you really reach a point in your illness or your journey that becomes quite scary and quite fearful, and that's when you really need to turn to your higher power, to faith or whatever it is, and start reaching out and asking for guidance, and not really asking for help, because then that when you ask for help, it's sort of you're putting your hope and belief into one specific thing, and you don't know if that specific thing can be good for you at all. When you ask for guidance, you will be guided to what you need and what's right for you in your journey. And really trusting and believing in the medical medium and this information can really help with all the fear. And the most important thing I could say to anybody who is trying to heal or begins a healing journey is to just let go of the fear and the worry from the symptoms you have, because that just it makes things a lot worse. And when you let go, you're allowing your adrenals to rest, and you're allowing the body to do what it needs to do on its own.
Yeah.
And faith and trust, is the most important thing. And in basically short message, that's the best advice I can give for people.
Oh, thank you so much. Where can people find you for anyone that doesn't know you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Facebook, but I don't really do anything on there. I'm just on Instagram. They can find me at Cacey.Scott, and that's my username, and it's CACEY.SCOTT. I spell my name a little bit weird. Not many people know how to spell my name.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you once again. I'm so grateful for you coming here and sharing your story. It's so inspiring. It really is. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to have met you and be here.